Greetings, this is Rebecca McCarthy for CMST 245 at South Seattle Community College. Welcome back, and I hope this short video, or that is, this short podcast finds you well. Today I want to talk a little bit about circulation and rhetorical uptake, viral video and internet memes, and our book, Rhetoric Online. I want to talk about two different things in this particular chapter. On one level, I'm going to talk about the content, and we're going to go over the content. But I think what this chapter does extremely well, and it is a lesson that we can take from this particular chapter, is how well the authors define concepts and terms throughout this chapter. A matter of fact, they take a great deal of time to break down these concepts and terms and to use a strong example in order to show us what they mean. And they do this both for the concept of viral video and for internet meme. Okay, so why is this important? Why do they spend so much time? Well, at this point in time in academia, as you guys go further and further and you leave the community college environment and you find yourselves in different institutions of learning, you'll find that many scholars spend a great deal of time on their definitions, that the act of defining a term or concept becomes extremely important. And the reason is because whenever you want to present an argument or an idea, half of the problem of presenting that argument or idea is to be able to define your terms and what you mean. Sometimes people will not bother to define their terms, and this is usually when they leave themselves open to counter arguments in general. What we have here in this chapter is a presentation, and indeed I would say an amazing example of what we need to do as scholars when we present any kind of argument. We need to spend time defining our terms and ideas for our audience so that our audience can better understand our point of view and where we're coming from. So one of the takeaways from this particular chapter is to spend some time and understand and view how they're breaking down ideas, how they are defining ideas, and then how they are taking those ideas and offering a concrete example. For example, in this particular chapter, we're looking first at the viral video. And they define the viral video through 3 parts, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And they go through and they offer definitions about those 3 parts of what makes a viral video. And then I think on the 3rd page on page 67, what they do is they apply their definition to an actual viral video. That's Lady Gaga's Don't Ask, Don't Tell campaign. So we have here a technique, a scholarship technique that you can apply not only in this class, but for almost any research that you do. And I would highly suggest that you look at how they are using definitions in this chapter and also applying the definition, and then take a lesson from this and apply it to your own scholarship as budding scholars. Okay? So that's the first half. Now let's talk a little bit about this chapter. The first thing the authors do is to introduce us to this concept of a viral video. In order to do that, they look at 2 viral videos. The first one having to do with LOL cats, and the second one having to do with the O'Donnell's I'm Not a Witch video, the video that was mentioned in chapter 2, if you remember. Now, they compared the 2 videos and they break down these ideas about what constitutes, what actually makes a viral video. And we have 3 different aspects that a video must meet in order to actually qualify as a viral video. The first one is that viral videos must receive a large number of views, usually in a relatively short period of time. The next one is that viral videos has to generate a significant number of responses to that video itself. And the third aspect is that viral videos rely heavily on pathos and novelty. The first 2 aspects are pretty easy to understand, so I'm going to jump to number 3, this idea about pathos and novelty. Now, we've already talked a little bit about logos and ethos and pathos. I have in a couple different podcasts, but let me break it down really quick. These are the 3 different rhetorical ways in which we often try to persuade somebody. We use logic, we use our authority, And we also use a call to emotion. And pathos is how our emotions are played upon. And in this particular situation, if we look at cute animals, our emotions are played upon. If we have humor or music, also our emotions become played upon as well. So the key to whether or not a video is actually a viral video is A, its popularity, B, the responses received, and C, the novelty of the video itself and how it actually affects our emotions. Our emotions is also what helps constitute the novelty. Now, the other things that they say we should be concerned about is this idea of interaction and circulation. How is the video being circulated and how are other people interacting with the video? Now, we get some bizarre terms here on page 65 that are, well, they're difficult to pronounce for one, and they're certainly difficult to understand. The first one is rhizomatic travel. That's kind of a strange idea. And then the second idea we come across is consubstantiality. These are weird terms, and why are they using it? Now, one of the things I wanted to mention while going over this chapter, and I'm sure you experienced it with chapter 1 as well, is every study in academia, and indeed in the world, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're going to be in academia or if you're going into finances or if you're going into banking, you're going into real estate or whatever. Every different discipline seems to have their own jargon. And jargon is a problem because A, it can make us feel like we can't relate to the words and the meaning being presented to us in a text. B, it allows people of the same kind of origin, that is banker speaking to banker, to be able to use shortcut language in order to convey a larger meaning or idea, right? And then the other thing is that it can work to bring us into a group if we can start to understand the jargon. So we can become part of the boys, if you will, or part of the girls, right? So what happens when we come across jargon like this? Well, we could have several different kind of reactions. The first reaction we can have is to throw the book away and go, I'm not interested. If they're not going to speak to me, if I'm not their audience, then I'm not interested. Or we can choose to learn at least enough of that jargon in order to allow us to somehow function well into that world, the world that we're going to be in for a while. And I usually like to encourage people to do part B, learn enough of the jargon in order to function in that world, because you're always going to come across jargon. And it's a good idea to create the habits now to deconstruct those jargon, those words, so that you can understand them, so that you can better converse with the material at hand. And the reason I say this is because although you may never go into rhetorical studies yourself, someday you're going to probably buy a house. And I can guarantee you that all the information that you are presented in that process of buying the house will have a lot of jargon. When you sign a mortgage, when you agree to certain financial terms, all of this kind of stuff is going to have jargon. So how can you build the tools that allow you to break the jargon down? One of the things to do is, of course, just find a way to define the word in terms that make sense to you. And that's pretty much why I have you do the particular assignment I have you do in our class, where you have to define a term in your own words, then match that term to a sentence found in our textbook from our authors, and then use the term in a sentence. Because if you can get this down as a normal habit in your life when you come across a word that you don't understand, you are going to be better able to engage in jargon no matter what field of study that you're going into. So let's take the first one, rhizomatic. What does that mean? Well, I just went to Google and I put in the term define rhizomatic. And I came up with a wiki article about these two authors that are being discussed. And they use this term to describe theory and research that allows for multiple non-hierarchical entry and exit points in data representation and interpretation. Sounds kind of strange still. So let me go back to our textbook. And I'm on page 65 and I'm looking at this idea of travel. That's a key word in the definition. And the author writes that there's the suggestion that discourse of discourses of change travel or circulate much like a rheumatoid in nature, horizontally with many points of connection and departure. So we're talking about how ideas in a text in a viral video actually travels. So it goes horizontally, so it goes on a plane, but it also goes through many points of connection and departure. That is, it will find different ways in which to basically travel, right? So it may travel on YouTube, it may travel through Facebook reposts, it may travel through Twitter reposts. Viral video could travel through email. A viral video can travel through the news because a lot of viral videos are picked up by news organizations and then broadcast. So the authors are basically using this term in order to give us a metaphor and also a better visual about what happens with viral videos. That when they go out, they aren't going out to an audience via one stream, but via many different streams, which is why they chose this particular term. All right, so that's it right now for part 1 of the podcast this week. I will be having a part 2 shortly where we will take up where we have left off. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the boards. Goodbye.